Hey everybody, we've got Rhino versus Doublewide today, film session Wednesday. Russ Allen joining us again. Going live in about 15 minutes. How we doing everyone? I see people trickling in. Notification squad, right? You're here because you're getting the notifications. Notification squad unite. We got Rhino Doublewide. Probably just the first half. We normally only get through the first half in like 1.5 hours. It's a full US matchup. US club 2012 Labor Day game. Russ hopefully will have some US specific insights. We all looking forward to the game? How we doing in chat? How's it going? Good to hear it, Barry. Good to see you again. Where are you from? Atlanta, Chain Lightning City. So maybe you can provide some US insights. I mean, I know it's a very big place, but I feel like I'm gonna need some help with the cultural understanding. I think Ultimate's played in a very different way when you get like deep into US club. Nice. Did you play for Chain Lightning or not at that level? Okay, I think I watched Chain Lightning once in Prague, 2010 World Club Championships. Oh, nice. I probably saw you play then. Was it Chain Lightning who had a guy who wore? I don't know if he wore a hat, but he definitely like had like straw in his mouth the entire game and would run around just holding the straw in his mouth. It really confused the opposition. Oh, that's Doublewide. Oh, right, okay. Do you reckon that guy... Do you know who that guy was? Do you reckon he's playing in this game? Yeah, there's a fair chance though, I guess. Yeah, he's the guy with the straw in his mouth, exactly. But I didn't notice anyone with a straw in their mouth when I was skipping through the footage earlier. Just imagine, everyone's running around and he's running around just gently holding this straw in his mouth the whole time, you know, not crushing it. Playing pretty well as well, you know, like he wasn't just like a bit player, he was a pretty key player in the team, it seemed like. But then, you know, when I was at my height, I had a massive red Mohican. People would initially not take me seriously because of that. I'm just waiting for Russ to get online. He said it'd be a couple of minutes. Stream will start in 10. Who else we got in the chat? I see we got like a bunch of people turned up. Probably getting the notifications, right? I never know exactly how YouTube tells people that I'm live. Maybe you get an email if you turn the notifications on. We got the notification crew here. I'm going to run a Patreon advert type thing. Here we go. It's basically just like runs through the process, shows you how easy it is. If like you would have paid $1 for all the content, all the videos that you've seen on Felix Ultimate YouTube, yeah, that's my password. You know, if you would have paid $1 for that, then it's a great time to do it now. If you would pay for $1, you know, for like the future videos, no time better than the present. It's possible to, you know, to avoid it. No one's gonna make you do it, but it definitely made me feel better. It'll probably make you feel better as well. Is that my? I'm not the best at self promotion and like the hard sell. This is gentle persuasion. I uploaded a new video to the Patreon actually recently, which is explaining team defense to this California team on like a live stream that took like 2.5 hours. Had loads of examples I was running through. It's basically like a whole explanation of flex defense, and that's on the $25 thing. Monthly pledge, $25 plus. Alright, let me see where Russ is at. Hey. Hey everybody, we got Russ. He has arrived. Let's check the audio levels. Hey Russ, let's say a few words.
Check. Hello. 1, 2, 3.
How's that sounding, everyone? Looks all right on my screen. What's up, Travis? Nice to see you. Not going to divulge how long it took to get this working. You got it on your TV though, right? You got like Chromecasting it or something from YouTube. Yeah, Russ. So you were just saying you're going to try and persuade your team not to play mini at the weekend.
Yeah. It's everybody's itching to play, so I was trying to think of anything that's an alternative that's not just throwing, because they're pretty anxious, you know.
Yeah, I mean it's a good time to be anxious. I think any kind of time, so it seems to be quite appropriate. Good level of volume, thanks, Chris. Yeah, I think it's a good time to think of new drills where people don't have to stand in queues or mark 1-to-1 really tight. Okay, we're gonna go live in about 3 minutes now.
Cool.
Have we got anyone in the chat? I know Barry's from Atlanta. Used to play chain. Travis from South Africa. Anyone from US at all in the chat today? Let us know. Alright, we'll go live in like 2 or 3 minutes. Okay, I'm going to run another Patreon ad. If you haven't, wait, no, it's your money. You can do what you like with your money. If you like watching my videos and you want to see more of them, then kind of show it with your money, I guess. show me your money. All right, here's the advert. If you enjoy Felix Ultimate videos, then you can find bonus content at patreon.com/FelixUltimate. This is where you can see the best clips from live streams, get early access to upcoming YouTube analysis videos, see behind the scenes material, and even commission me to analyse footage of you playing. Patronage is the way I can continue doing what I'm doing, so if you value the work, please support it today. There's even a tier if you just want to watch more videos of my cat Rue, and we all know that's the real reason you're here. Okay, everybody, we're about to turn on the cameras and go live. If I just get this right, there we go. Oh, let me just change what's in my little screen before I put it on the screen. Ta-da! There we go. How does that look? Okay, that looks nice. Kinda a bit garish. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the stream. I am Felix from Felix Ultimate. I'm joined today by Russ Allen, aka sloecrush, aka Beast Planes. How you doing, Russ, today?
I'm doing all right. Hanging out at home. How are you?
Very similar, very similar. Uh, Russ sent me an message in Reddit like a couple of years ago now, kind of expressing some support, and I told him my idea about live streaming, and it's basically something he's kind of done already with the original Film Session Fridays. So you had some very encouraging words and good advice for me, which I actually printed out the message, put it on my wall. So it's been there for the last 2 years. And so thank you for your inspiration to actually get this off the ground and happening.
Yeah, I think it's awesome that you've been able to do what you did, because I kind of failed. Other priorities took over, and you've actually pursued the dream. So I think that's awesome.
Yeah, always chasing that dream. Hello to everyone in the chat. So if this is anyone's first time on this stream, then it's not like a watch party, right? We take our time to go through the footage and like analyze as deep as we kind of feel like. I also am going to try and interact with the chat a lot today. Kind of in that kind of mood. Russ, you up for chatting to chat as well?
Yeah, I have it pulled up so I can try and monitor that while we're talking.
Sergeant Sarge, for example, has already noticed I've got a haircut. Yep. I didn't worry too much about the back of my head because I realised that, it's not going to really be seen for, for a while. We've got Chris, we've got Travis, we've got Barry, who I had a chat with whilst we were waiting to go live. Yeah, so we take our time. So it's going to take like 1.5 hours or so to go through maybe the first half. That's roughly what normally happens. I'll try and get better at like playing it through at full speed before I then go and talk about stuff, because when we like clip it up and send it to Reddit, people are saying like, oh, this is unwatchable because, you're just doing it through in a stuttery slow-mo rather than showing it full speed first. But, the live people, yeah, you'll always see it like full speed initially. But I've got to do it like just before I then talk about the clip. So I'm constantly adjusting the process and trying to make it smoother. We've got rosters up there. Let's get full screen on that. Ba-da-ba. What do you think of that thumbnail? Instead of going for like two different plays, I just went for the same play from two different angles. A bit weird, I guess. It's what a play it is, though. Unfortunately, we won't see that today. We'll see that on Friday. But there are still some, interesting things that happen in this game right from the beginning. So we got some pretty epic rosters here. Can you talk? So Russ, you're from America, right?
Oh yes.
Can you talk us through some of the names we see here? Like, I'm noticing Mario O'Brien, Freechild. I recognize quite a few of these. Chase Spalding Beckley, right? Wow. Man, he was on like...
Tell me about him.
Huh?
Because I actually know that guy.
You know him?
No, I don't.
I don't know him. Oh, okay. He played for Sockeye
Okay.
way back in the day, like 2000. Yeah, because he was 18 then, right? He was like the young guy on Sockeye. 2000, 2004 or so, he was in Disc 1, the Ulti Village Disc 1.
Okay.
Oh, hang on. I was supposed to... Here we go. This makes more sense now. Yeah, so he was playing for Sockeye very early on. Oh yeah, his peak was around 2003, 2004. Barry points out. Yeah, like he was like the Joe White of Sockeye. Like tall, blonde, young, like running, jumping super high, and then just able to throw pitch length whenever he was asked. Yeah, he made like one of the most epic plays I'd seen back on Disc 1.
Yeah, I think some other players to watch on Rhino. Obviously, you have Dylan Freechild, who this was Dylan Freechild during his long hair phase, which was my favorite version. And then you have Jacob Janin, who is his teammate at Ego in college. Cody Bjorkland was kind of a big name when I started playing. He was on the Next Gen tour. And he's kind of like a strong guy, and I like watching the strong guys play because I'm pretty thin, you know. Oh, Chris says Janin played at Whitman. Well, I'd be interested to know how Freechild and Janin are such best friends, though. Another guy to watch is Riley Minershagen. That's a name that people don't really talk about a whole lot, but he's tall guy, athletic guy. Timmy Purston's gonna have this orange hat on. That's kind of like his signature. He always wears this orange beanie, so you can spot him anywhere.
Yeah.
And then, of course, my favorite is Seth Wiggins, who I believe his brother is Ben Wiggins, but I think I've always assumed that.
Yeah. Definitely is.
Yeah, and I really like Seth's intensity, and when he's the ISO cut, he gets that disc and he makes really good decisions, and he's a really great player.
Okay, I said definitely. I take that definitely. I'm not 100% sure. Might be cousins. Chris says, "Oh, Barry says definitely brothers." Cool. Yeah, we'll go with Barry on this one. 100%. Wow. So he must have actually seen them be born to be 100. we're gonna talk about certainty in a little bit as well, because there's a couple of close calls that people have very strong opinions about in this game.
Right, and yeah, not to dwell on the rosters too long, but Tim Garrett for Doublewide.
Yeah.
Tim Garrett was pretty amazing.
Callahan,
Cole Sullivan. I don't know, but Cole Sullivan also is another guy who he's kind of like a heel.
Okay.
I watched a thing once where Brandon Muffin Malachek and Cole Sullivan were jokingly talking about how much they kind of hated each other. And then, of course, you have Kurt Gibson, his brother Chris Gibson. And then, unfortunately, during this game, Brody Smith is injured. And I don't think Will Driscoll is there at this tournament. And then you have like a really young Dalton Smith, who's not the impact player he is now. And then you have a guy named Kieran Thomas, who I just haven't heard about in many years. But when I started playing, he was a name, you know, that people brought up a lot. But I haven't heard about him in a long time.
Cool.
Oh, and of course, Mike Nattenberg. Mike Nattenberg's the last one.
Tank, right?
Yeah, he played for Team USA at Worlds at some point.
I met him 2010, 2009 probably. I met him. He came over. We had a beer after a UK skills clinic thing. Xavier confirms that Tim Garrett won Callahan. Kieran played for Austin like 2 years ago. He says wasn't as impactful as he used to be. He's got kids. Yeah. Okay. Sweet. All right. Anyone in the chat who's from either of these teams, then it'd be great to hear from you. And if you want to stick around afterwards to chat to patrons, then that would be absolutely super. Let's get straight into the game. Let me know about the commentary level. Okay, nice ball to the back.
Yeah, so Doublewide comes down here in this 4-man cup. And this point is very interesting.
It's a double wide, more like double team.
Yeah.
Although that one's okay because he's quite close. So now they just stand there. They're still there. There's like 3 of them double teaming. Unbelievable. I'm gonna go back to that. What do people think in the chat? Do you think that's double team or do you think it's fair game? Oh my god. Jeez. Looks remorseless as well. Oh my god. I mean,
that's Cole Sullivan. That's the heel.
Oh jeez. It's a heel on everybody's side. Oh, he's getting calmed down by Seth Wiggins. Yeah, both hands on both shoulders. That's the way. But like this is like a late bid with no hope of getting the disc. Like
it's so intentional, yeah.
But he's just going in like he hasn't left the ground. That's him pushing off. Then Like, that was always going to happen. Like, the receiver did nothing unpredictable here. The receiver's like, and he has to brace, and then it's just like, push. And that's a hard hit. I mean, all athletes, he's not, I mean, he could get, like, if his right foot came down here, he could easily, like, you know, sprain an ankle or worse.
Yeah.
But, like,
that's always my concern on plays like this. You know, this isn't football. Like, please don't take me out of the game.
Yeah. It's like, it's a non-contact sport without referees and with no penalties for breaking the rules. So don't break the rules. Like, if you break the rules, you break the game.
Yeah.
And
people in the chat do not like Cole Sullivan.
Oh my god, yeah. Whew, the C word's coming out. Yeah, I'm wondering when to go back and have a look at the double team.
Well, there's more to come. At least this.
Xavier with some excellent storytelling in the chat, which I don't think I'm going to repeat, but it's brilliant. He just keeps edging closer and closer. Brilliant. Yeah, nice work, Xavier. From what I've seen in the first 30 seconds of this game, it seems justified. Make him super uncomfortable. Start initiating some contact there.
That's trying to check them. He's saying, look, guys, you guys are clearly within 3 meters of me here. And
yeah, okay, right. There's a turnover there, so let's rewind it and have a look, because it is a little bit deceptive, because who is he that's so tall? I need to load up the rosters. Number 17. He's like ridiculously tall, and that makes it look like he's, you know, really close. So it's 3 meters is the rule, right? So like, this pass is made here, okay? So I'd say that's about 3 meters, that distance right there. Maybe a little bit more. But then as soon as that happens, right? Boom.
Yeah.
Okay, now they've all like moved in. Yeah, so like, right, we'll go in. And then they stay there. Yeah. And so this defender can be said to be marking him. Okay. So which means one of these people can be here. And like, potentially if he's 3 meters within that guy, then he could potentially be said to be marking him. But then at this moment, you know, like, oh my god, there's just 4 of them stood around one. And then on the sideline, now he should probably cut off the dump first, because he's got all the other double teamers near him. Okay. And then they go over to this side. Well, actually, what was that? There was like an initial bit of contact, wasn't there, on the right hand sideline? Let's have a look at that. Oh, he is after this bit. Okay. The video feels nice and fast today. It was a bit slow for the last stream I did. Oh. Okay, here we go. So
I feel like with this, you don't really want to get trapped on the sideline with what they're doing right now. Gosh, yeah.
Oh, look, he steps in. It's
so unnecessary.
Well, it sets such a bad tone for the game, right?
Look at that.
Shame on you, sir. Welcome to the live stream. Oh dear. Okay, right. Let's move on. Oh.
I like how he has like really like rock hard knee pads too. He's not wearing soft knee pads.
Really, like skater knee pads.
Yeah, they're like plexiglass or fiberglass or something.
Need some like shoulder pads as well. And then what's this call here?
Cole Sullivan and Chris Gibson in that.
What could the call possibly be there? Because it looks like he stops as soon as the disc is released. I also like it. This is like more of a pet hate. I don't like people in the wall holding their arms out, because I've been poked in the eye before just by someone running along with their arm out. I was like, oh, what are you doing? What are you doing with your arm?
Yeah.
Cole Sullivan and Chris Gibson in that cup.
one thing we've discussed before in cups like this is you get your body in the way of where you want the throw to go, and then everybody has like one arm out, and that's your active arm, but your body's blocking the lanes, if that makes sense.
Right. When you're in the cup, put your body where you want the throw to start. It kind of makes sense because then you're in the middle of where you think the throw's going to go. But then
so
one arm
you're
out? Sorry, go on.
Oh, just like if you're forcing like traditional forehand, like right forehand, you would all have your left hand out and your body's in the way of the throwing lanes.
If you're forcing forehand. Okay, so what your left hand is out because it's going to be higher around throw.
Yeah, it's basically forcing you to use your feet to get in the way, so you're not just waving your arms around wildly.
Okay. So this is Seth Wiggins, right? I think he tries to make a point here. He does travel a tiny bit. But tries to make a point here, and he steps being like, I'm entitled to this space, and then he gets like contact, but then he does like go into Cole. You know, I think it's almost because he's expecting the contact, so it's like, you know, if you don't give back, then you get knocked over. But then even after that, he steps back over here, and it's straight into like a straddle, just immediate straddle. I don't know many players that actually intentionally break the rules.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if I did, I probably wouldn't have got into the game. That's why I left football, soccer. Just people trying to kick me all the time. It's like I'm trying to dribble around them.
That was my job in high school on the soccer team. I was the bruiser. I was not cheating out there, but I was definitely bending the rules when the ref wasn't looking, and my coach relied on me for that. That was my job.
Yeah, and I don't think I don't like it, but at least like there's a referee and there's penalties for doing that, you know. So right. in a way it's part of the game. I don't want it to be, but in a way it is part of the game. You know, because it's accounted for. Whereas in ultimate frisbee, it's not accounted for. It's not part of the game. And they get the turnover, and I think you know they're right to throw their hammer here. I think it's the wind probably just pushes it down or something. Dylan. Oh, actually, it's because he's a right hand on top catcher, right?
Oh,
it must be because he's going with his right hand on top here and trying to rotate his body. Whereas if he was a left hand, if he was like could do it either way completely equally, then he'd probably go left hand on top and not have to rotate around in this situation. I've completely failed to like play through these things at full speed before talking about them.
I love the hand on top discussion, especially when you get like a wrench in the machine with Frank, for example, who suggests never clap catching, you know.
Yeah. That came up in the Hive today. Actually, people talking about hey Roo. People talking about whether to do the steering wheel catch, which is what Frank talks about all the time. Right, we're having an early break for Cat. Early Roo break. Here we go. It's my cat. The name is Roo. There she is. We'll be back to the game in about 20 seconds. Don't worry. What's this, Roo? What's going on there? I think she's been outside. She's just come in and just sprawled on my desk. Okay.
I think what Barry is saying is really important. That I don't know how many of these double wide guys, but definitely a handful of them played at Florida University. And I think several of them were on the national championship team in 2010, I guess. And so we've seen this strategy from Florida's club team, especially versus Sockeye when it was really windy a few years ago. That was like another notorious game where there were just a ton of fouls. And then we've obviously seen this from the Jacksonville Cannons. Yeah, I think it's pretty cool in the ADL. Obviously, they removed the double team rule, so everything we're seeing right here, you just do what they're doing and rely on the refs to manage it for you. But that's why we see Seth Wiggins trying so hard in this point to manage the game, because he has to.
Yeah, otherwise it gets out of hand, like very, very quickly. Like, okay, do we think that this is 3 meters? And can someone confirm it's from the pivot point, right? Yeah, it is. I'm like 98% sure that the distance is drawn from the pivot point. Okay, so it's from there to here, right? So is that 3 meters? Do people think? Because they both seem to be like happy with it. I wouldn't say happy actually. What do people in the chat think? Don't get me started. Canon stories. That's like 7 feet. Well, I mean, if he's, we know how tall he is, right? Cole is the only person not currently cheating. Yeah. So yeah, I think that does look further away.
He lost his focus. He needs to get back in there.
Yeah.
Throw his body.
There's Jacob Anderson, who is 6'3". Okay, so if he lay down, would his head be touching there? And who can convert feet to meters? All right, Travis has got to go. If I want to start a GoFundMe on Patreon page for my body corpse to get us fiber, please feel free. Yeah. I should put a little thing if we reach this many patrons, and I'll buy internet for my viewers. Yeah, so I think they're right to throw the hammer, because, like, strategically speaking, you have like 1, 2, 3, 4 people around the disc. Okay, and then you got 5, 6 there. And offense, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which means you must have 2 versus 1 over here, right? Get the disc away from these 4 defenders, and then start working it with the 3 people. And if we just quickly kind of like scooch through this, discussion. Oh, we made a little noise. It's just rolling around on my desk. If you want more.
That scenario is a good opportunity for me to mention that I really like, instead of throwing that throw, I really like throwing the hammer horizontally, and then that player catching the hammer now has a very easy throw up line, provided this mid player isn't able to get there in time. But a lot of times against zones, when the cup's collapsing in on me, I'm like 6'1", so I'm a little bit taller than a lot of handlers. I'll just push it over to the far side and let that guy or girl make the upfield pass. It doesn't always work, but you avoid this.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, so I think Dylan would have had an easier time of catching this if he went left hand on top, right hand underneath, just because of the orientation of the disc. Instead, he tried to slide and kind of turn his body in order to get right hand on top.
Xavier is pointing out in the chat that he can throw farther than me.
Good stuff. Good input.
Oh yeah, that was one thing I noticed watching this game is the way Gibson is looking for these, like, so there's Minor Shaggin. That's Riley Minor Shaggin.
Let me have a look. Who? Making there's a catch. Sorry, Rue was like rolling around on my computer. Wow.
So earlier in the game, Minor Shaggin was the victim of some contact, and it's really cool to see him go up with like total disregard for everybody's safety right there and get that.
Yeah, I think we might see a replay of that at the end. Oh, inside out to nobody. Just overshot.
And so that's 2 on this point from Gibson where he throws the inside out. And it's interesting because I don't see him throw that much anymore. He's definitely like a big give-go guy, and he loves the short movement, the motion, the dribbling.
Yeah, I mean he could do anything, I think.
Right. So it's like he takes safer options now to get the exact same result, which I think is proof of just a great player.
Yeah. Okay, so he changes how he plays, you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
So a bit of a. I mean that's probably fair. And then leap, sky, nice.
Oh, it feels great, doesn't it, Barry? When you watch him jostling with Freechild and he just gets skied.
Okay, Chris wants to know why this dude was so open. Why was this dude so open? because he's like, hey, do you wanna like mark that guy? He's like pointing, maybe a switch here, and the guy's like, what? Okay, I see. Okay, well, props for like kind of trying to switch, even though it seemed to be like an afterthought. Who is that? That's Chris Gibson on Doublewide, Kurt's brother. Because he ends up here like you've almost got the defense surrounded by the offense. You know, like this defender here is surrounded by the offense. But there's if they want to sandwich, they got to set it up early. They got to communicate early. And as it is, he runs that way. So if he'd chosen to follow him, it would have been a pick, right?
Mm-hmm.
If he'd done it like immediately, maybe not. He seems to run just past him. Yeah, the best line is probably a pick though. But yeah, it looks like he was kind of wanting the switch to happen, but it wasn't there. That's why that dude's so open.
Yeah, you just see, I think it's Cole Sullivan guarding Cody Bjorklund at the front of this amoeba, but you just kind of see him zeroed in on his guy, not watching anything else.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. Also, what the hell is this line doing here? Like, it's not far enough away to stop people from getting in the way of throws, but it's close enough so that they can step on the cones when they pivot outside the field. Tell me a bit about Labor Day. Like, I have no idea whether it counts towards anything, if it's right at the beginning of the season. What's the deal?
Well, I know that this game is pool play. I know that doesn't answer your question, but that's kind of all I know.
And Rhino are already out with the running as well. Apparently they were 2 for 2. No, they were 2 and 2, right? 2 wins, 2 losses. And they could no longer make it into semi-finals, I believe. Is that right?
It's so the one for last year is a rec tournament, so I don't think that it is part of the TCT or sanctioned or anything. Oh, actually it was sanctioned last year. Contact cbjorkland06@gmail.com. That's cool. So that's one of the guys playing in this game now. He runs this tournament.
Okay. Vertical stack. Big hammer. I think there's gonna be a call. No call.
Mario O'Brien finds Freechild. Rhino gets the first break of the game.
Freechild with
Yep.
crab catch, not the disc was right for right hand on top crab catch, but went crab catch. No, what about this level of contact here? 12.
You know, what are you gonna do?
Why is he horizontal?
Interesting.
Yeah.
You know, Joe's in here, and this is like the sort of throw where when my team's playing against Smokestack, I know that we can all go up for the disc and nobody's trying to hurt each other. So you don't have any fear as you go up for a disc like this.
Yeah.
But like given the events in this game, it might be in the back of my mind, like I might be about to get wrecked if I go up for this.
Yeah, just from that first point, right?
Yeah.
Just checking out the flow of the offense. It's incredibly strict 1-to-1. It feels like. Two defenders near each other here. Ugh, this is such a tight cut. It's good defense, I think, to force it to be like, this is the only area you're going to be able to get the disc. Massive break space here. Like, I know this is like the system, but like, yeah, let's just do this old triangle. So all the players are like here, you know, and this is after the stall count has been high. You know, the stall's been going on for a while. So then this is the kind of like space. Yeah, and when this guy moves, it's going to be a little bit here as well.
This I'd call this negative space. That's what I refer to these, what you're showing.
Right.
Because you know that space is always open in theory. There's actually a throw later in the game where the handler just kind of puts it up for Wiggins, knowing he'll get it, and it's a really cool throw. So when that comes up, I'll show it. But yeah, I mean, in theory, you can just throw it over there, and then your guy goes and gets it. You know.
Yeah. You got three defenders who are all stood like open side, so technically correct for individual defense, right? But you know, if we're playing team, if we're playing as a team, then it doesn't make sense for all three of these players here to be slightly free in the only space on the field, you know, and like it's just this guy, just the force is the guy who has to stop all of that, or like make it hard. I mean, it's a very extreme version of Ultimate in my view, you know. I mean, it's a very common version, but it's very extreme, like hardcore 1-to-1. And you know, obviously it works, but it's working like against the same thing. Like it's the same way of playing that both teams are used to, and it's like this rabbit hole that Ultimate's gone down in the US for so long that now that's kind of like that's all just kind of assumed. And so then you got these players then going over there, and the hammer comes out, so it must be like quite a good force. But you think a backhand over to this space.
Every time, yeah. Yeah, I think this is interesting because we're, you know, on the second point, we've already seen double wide. This is the third time that they've had that inside lane and thrown to it. Even though this was a hammer, he's still trying to hit the inside lane. And nope, didn't work, you know? And so you get the expectation sometimes that or you get the feeling sometimes that teams kind of expect to win, and they come out with that mentality, and then this happens. And it's always interesting to watch how these elite teams adjust to that.
So double wide are expecting to win, right? And then they're just...
I would assume so. Somebody closer to all of this would know, but this is the year that double wide won nationals, and so clearly they had talent and they had belief, and but I'm probably selling them short. You know, like a great team probably doesn't walk into a game expecting to win and then perform to expectations.
Bit of history on Labor Day. Used to be a big tournament. This is from Barry. Would attract some of the best teams before the Triple Crown Tour. So it's just a big regular season tournament. Doesn't exist anymore, says Joe Malmsteen. Hello, Joe. Welcome to the chat. Good to see you again. I'm just going to pause this.
I need to police the chat better. I'm sorry. I forgot you're not looking at it.
Oh, I kind of feel like looking at it a bit more today. But whenever I do, I'm like missing hucks and stuff. It had the best party of all the big tournaments. Right, okay. That's the one that I would have gone to then.
Yeah.
So they come out with this side stack. And, oh, yeah, okay, so Huck goes here. Let's have a look what happens to this Huck.
Yeah.
He's pretty deep.
Yeah, the camera kind of cuts it off, but
yeah, well,
pretty straightforward play.
When it comes in to view, and there's that separation there, right? Literally all of the offensive players, other than this guy, are in this area here, or by the disc, right? So then this is this huge space on the field, okay, and that side attack only works because the defense doesn't adjust from one-to-one marking, right? It is a good counter for one-to-one marking, because suddenly then you have massive amount of space on the field that it's impossible to guard against offense, because offense has Sente, and offense has the initiative.
Yeah, and I mean, you've harped on this forever, and I agree that you should really, if you're the whole count from 1 to 7 and then run down and play straight match defense, I kind of feel like I never want to do that ever again because of stuff like this.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like Revolver did side stack, and they just proved that you can't beat it. You know, you can't beat a very athletic team running side stack just by doing one-to-one marking, because you have to be more athletic than them.
Yeah.
Well, did he hug that like under the guy's arm?
Yeah.
Epic. Look at that.
This is for people who play with me. This, like, I don't really huck forehand, so I like doing stuff like this as well.
Yeah, that's one release point.
This is pretty good, though. I don't know if I can actually pull that off. That's pretty nice.
There's a player, Doug Milne, old school player in the UK. This was the release point he favoured as well. There's a great photo of him. It's called a JC, doing a JC against a Swedish player, and like you can see Dougie's like looking at the disc, and he's released it already, and the disc is like behind the force, and the Swedish player's like got his hands up, he's like turning around, like looking at the disc as well.
My friend Xavier in the chat, he is excellent at these kinds of release points. He practiced very much for years, making sure that when he releases, it's like behind the opponent's leg. Wow. And so just like essentially kind of like throwing into the contact over the years and getting used to what that feels like so that it doesn't bother him.
Okay. So people in chat are pretty sure that Cole would have called foul after this.
All the metagaming it bothers me a lot. All the little tidbits that everybody has about like why people make these decisions on the field, it's not pure, is it? It's metagaming.
Yeah, but you know that can be one of the things that makes it interesting. I like the idea of having villains in the game as well, like building up these characters. By the way, I was replaying that catch just because it's a dodgy catch. You seen? It's like dunk. It like it's not clean at all. It like sits on his thumb and then wobbles around a bit, and then his fingers come down on it. Does the job though.
Yeah, so Green Hat, his name's Matt Malius, and I was watching this the other night, and at some point the commentators kind of diss him and say, I don't know why they're letting him guard, you know, this guy who's that much taller than him. But it's cool because later in the half he actually gets revenge. Oh, this is the throw that I wanted to show you. It's so cool the way Wiggins comes off the ISO of the side stack and then does this little fake upfield, and the handler throws it while Wiggins is facing upfield.
Oh yeah, right at the beginning. Yeah. Let me go back to that. It looked like a miscommunication that the defense just wasn't heads up to. Just in my
We've been talking about like Jimmy Mickle does this quite a bit. This kind of like, hey, I'm going upfield, just kidding, and then.
Yeah, it's getting good body position as well, right? Because he must be thinking, okay, well, I haven't really, you know, he's got an angle. The defender's got an angle, so just going there, stopping there, and then you know that you're then free in this direction. Like, oh, you sure the throw didn't? I think the throw went. Yeah, I think it's a little bit lucky there, because I think the throw is actually to his first move. But it's nice with touch on it, so he's able to go and eat it up. Yeah, Jimmy does do that quite a lot.
And watch the inward pivot. There we go.
Yeah, let's have another look at that. I like the the quick layoff pass. He's moving towards the narrow channel. Yeah, and then steps inwards. It's quite natural in that situation, it feels like. I mean, you could always step out and fake the backhand to this guy here, but he goes with the inward. Still facing very much kind of downfield. Whoa, what was that?
Dogs. I'll mute.
Oh my word. Wow. Everyone's ears okay. Not sure what the audio level was on that, but it's pretty loud for me. Lots of like when you watch the video and like fast speed it up like this, you can really see just how tight the one-to-one marking is and how straight it is. Like there's a little bit of a poach here, but other than that, it's all just like completely matched up. And then what's the call? It's just it's beyond clumsy. I'd say that's beyond clumsy. It's wrapping and contact. And did he just start hitting the disc as well? Is this cold again? He just starts hitting the disc. Yeah. He just starts hitting the disc. Oh my god. Who is this Cole Sullivan character? Oh, yeah. It reminds me of that AEDL clip where a guy's holding it and defender runs past and just knocks it out of his hand. Terrible. Shame.
Wiggins is really good at keeping his cool, though.
That's not Cole. Okay. Wiggins is good at keeping his cool, yeah. It's not Cole. Kevin Richardson. It's beyond clumsy. Like there's playing to a point where you know where the line is and you're playing so hard that occasionally you might go over the line, and then there's playing to a point where you usually go over the line and occasionally they'll call it on you, and there's a big difference between those two ways of playing, and one of them makes sense in this game and one of them doesn't. One of them has no place in this game.
That's my favorite play in Ultimate. Just an easy pass over to the backhand side, and then you throw to the front cone.
Nice.
And it never gets old for me. There we go.
So let's have another. Yeah, it's nice inside break, isn't it? Boom.
Do you like Timmy Perston's hat, Felix?
Oh, the orange one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I like things that are distinctive. It's nice. He times this move just nicely into the break side. Gets the inside, and then that's well timed as well. I mean, ideally, like as soon as that disc's in the air, the defender should be repositioning over to this side. He's got that arm out thing again, is he? No, he's not trying to switch or anything. Yeah, I like distinctive passes. It must be quite warm though, mustn't it?
Right.
It's got to be super warm.
I've heard that he always wears one of those, but I don't know. He had a cool play a few years back. I think it was when it might have been, what's it called? MLU.
Mm-hmm.
I can look it up. I'll send you a link. But he just skies this guy, and he does it in like the most casual way. It's so cool.
I won indoor nationals with a player who was wearing a woolly hat and a scarf during the game. That was indoors.
Two deep shots right away out of the vertical stack from Doublewide when they're going on offense downwind.
Yeah, Daniel Adderley, Lazy Dan, we call him. Like insane throws. Just little guy with like long hair and a beard. He just rocked up to like a university training, and then I kept telling him to stack up. This was like back in 2003, and he was just like, nah. And then whenever he got the disc, he'd just throw it the length of the field, like forehand, and we'd never seen anything like it. And we're just like, what? Who is this guy? It turned out to be one of the most super chill guys I've ever met. But yeah, it came 2005 Indoor Nationals, and he wore a scarf in the final.
I think it's really cool that you guys have indoor nationals. That's been discussed in the U.S. for a little while, but it's almost kind of like a joke. And I had some friends who went to a quote-unquote indoor nationals, but it seemed very unofficial. So I think it's coming for us. I really like indoor.
It's a different game, I think. Like, it's fun. You can't do the same kind of like whole game strategy, whole field strategy. It's more about technique and just being able to throw and catch, really, and like connections between players. This is like a classic pool play, or like, just going deep from the front and then under from the back. And again, it's the kind of thing where you immediately think, well, a bit of surrounding, a bit of poaching, a bit of switching could have nullified that, because when you're 1-to-1, like, this positioning is good. You have to be marking under. Someone starts running, it's perfectly normal for them to get that amount of separation, like when they decide when to start running. And then the throw is very good. Yeah. The throw is very good. It doesn't have to be an amazing throw, because it's got separation. Canada has indoor nationals, apparently. That's what GRS says. Welcome back to the stream. It's a good play. It's a good play. 1-to-1 defense, though.
I know.
Like, you could run any play and it would work almost.
So yeah, we've seen the side stack where they played 1-to-1 and got beat deep off basically just somebody streaking deep, not really any sort of pull play. And then that one's one that we've all seen 100 times. And
oof, that is a peach of a throw. It's such a nothing, like, I find it so uninteresting. Like, there's a little bit, it looks like they're surrounding here. Yeah, it looks like they're surrounding, but they're probably not, like almost certainly are not. Like, if anything, he's like, ooh, maybe I should help out. No. And then, he's completely free under. But, like, you've got these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 defenders, 5 offense, and everyone's in this tiny little space. If like 17 here is surrounded by the offense, right? When you're a defender, being surrounded by the offense, that's like the opposite of where you want to be. Yeah, the defense wants to be surrounding the offense. You just like, it logically makes sense in terms of space. So when you're offense and you're surrounded by defense, then it's completely opposite.
One thing I really want to try to work on with my team this year is I need to figure out what it looks like, but I'd like for our pull play breakers to have somebody deep for the first 2-3 throws, and then have somebody under trying to stop that ISO pretty much every play, because I've seen so many goals like this in the 10-ish years I've been playing that it's yes. The more we talk and the more I think about what you've put out there and we have these discussions each week, the more I just really don't like match defense.
Well, unless you're more athletic than the other team, and then it's nice and simple and easy.
Yeah. Well, that'd be nice.
Yeah. Am I missing a defender here? There must be a defender somewhere else. So a little I made a video for Empire about countering side stacks. And when you have 5 people here, you can surround them with 4 like this. So these 4 defenders are more than enough to surround these 5 players and stop them from being immediate threats. But they have to be playing as a team. They can't be playing individually, marking 4 people with 1 person free. It has to be 4 people marking 5 people as a team. And then you have a spare defender who can do something about the fact that the entire field is space.
Right.
Right. How are things going in chat? Are you enjoying me getting a little bit riled up? I remember I made a. You love it.
Well, I love Barry's commentary.
Barry's
here.
commenting, yeah.
He's got a great. Seems like he is very familiar with some of these players.
Yeah, if Doublewide are more athletic than Rhino, then yeah, fine. Yeah, just do 1-to-1.
Definitely taller.
But you have to be a lot more athletic to beat someone 1-to-1 in like 75% of the space on the field. Very, like, way more athletic. Where would you put the extra defender in that example? Open space or help deep? You could do it either way. Help deep is probably better because they can be a bit looser, and then everyone else can just mark under a little bit more. But normally you get like a single cutter come out into the lane, and so then you basically have 2 on that 1 cutter. Obviously, then if the other people, well, not obviously, but if the other players in the side stack then all separate, then one of them's going to be free. But you know that's not simple. Then you've made it complicated, which is good for defense.
I'm pretty sure you said it one day, but I've been thinking about it a lot. How as soon as you're playing team defense and switching, you're really focused on trying to prevent the future. And I think when you're playing 1-to-1, you're often trying to prevent the present because you're so focused on what your opponent's doing in that moment that you're trying to shut down his or her movement. Whereas when you play team defense, you can get a bigger picture of what's occurring on the field, and you can focus on trying to prevent future actions. And I really like that concept of anticipating the future, reacting to it before your opponent, and
yeah,
that's essentially how you keep them out of the end zone, but that's not necessarily how you prevent them from getting open passes.
Yeah, when I've played flex defense with the team who's been playing it all season, got to like an amazing point where you just knew when a turnover was going to happen, and you knew when a pass was going to happen as well. Like, oh, sweet catch.
You like that?
Oh my god.
I told you this game was fun, man.
Oh. He literally hits in both hands and then the cool travel, but he seems to regret it immediately.
So Mario
travel on that one as well. Boo.
Mario O'Brien, before I'd ever heard of you or Frank Huguenard or any of these people, he was one of the guys I found, and I said, this guy has some amazing ideas. So
yeah,
anytime he does something that excites me, I get really excited because I'm a big fan of his.
Yeah, me too. I met him for the first time in Cincinnati, and he was like, "Why is this the first time we're meeting?"
Yeah, I guess we might have interacted online for one of the film session Fridays or something. But
you do mention him in the message you sent me 2 years ago. Actually, I reread it.
His breaking a defensive heart video, I share that like once a month with people.
Yeah, one thing that I remember him saying that I disagreed with, but I only disagree with it in the context of that I disagree with the conventional systems that we play in Ultimate. Is like the show and throw, where you have the disc in your hands and you show a sidearm, or you show a backhand, like you're going to threaten that first, and then the defense have to respond to cover that, and then that's the fundamental idea. Like you show them something, that then if they don't cover it, you can throw it. And I just kind of disagree with that in terms of like, I think it should be balanced, and I think as soon as you show something to the defense, then it gives them purchase. They can then work with that. Whereas if you're just completely balanced and you're ready to do anything at any point, then the defense doesn't know, how to guard you. But the system, we play very unbalanced systems with like vertical stack and everything is like very unbalanced. Side stack is like literally definition of unbalanced system, and so therefore probably unbalanced technique works. It doesn't sound good though, does it? Surely balance is good.
Yeah, that's, that is one way that we think about stuff. You and I think about stuff a little bit differently. I do like these unbalanced looks because I'm a big fan of just creating a lot of space on the field that you can just throw a bailout throw into. But I like,
yes,
well, obviously I like your opinions as well. But that is something that we think about a little bit differently.
Yeah, so long as the D doesn't surround and start occupying that space, because like that's the only reason the space exists in that way for like a bigger round backhand to float out to the space, is because the defense hasn't adjusted and they've allowed that space to exist.
Hey, so there's some good discussion in the chat, and
yeah,
I think people would be interested to hear more of your opinion why match defense isn't interesting, or because I mean I understand your point of view on it, but Barry seems intrigued that you don't like match defense.
Like I mean, I don't get me wrong. I played I played match defense for majority of my frisbee career, like 15 years probably of majority match defense. But it when there's so few variables, in terms of like, yeah, you're guarding one person, like this number 18 here, and he's like face marking, so he's got his positioning so that the player can't run like immediately this way, and so that he's encouraging him to go deep break side, so that's going to be like a D'able throw. So he's got the basic positioning, and then there's other stuff. If he gets his heads up, then he might see that this player is occupied this space, and so then he might reposition to actually allow his player briefly to go into this space as well, because it's no longer space. That can be kind of interesting when it becomes like dynamic repositioning like that. But compared to but like it plays into the offense's hands. Yeah, if you're doing one-to-one marking, it means the offense can completely dictate where the defense is on the field, right? Which is why the side stack evolved. That is the end of the rabbit hole. Like, okay, let's try and get all the defenders stood on the sideline pretty much, and it works. Sure. They follow you and stand on the sideline in one-to-one. And then when you bring in the aspect of like potentially switching into the game, like, so you're playing as a team. If your player moves away from you, then there's a chance that if they're moving towards your teammate, that you're going to switch. Like you every single second of the game you're playing as a team, and then you're able to then think further ahead, and more of the variables come into play, and more of your connections and more of the skills and the talents and the abilities of all your teammates come into play as well. And it becomes like a way more interesting and like enjoyable way of playing. Kind of makes it more complicated, so it takes practice, but it makes it chaotic for the offense as well.
I have a comical example of this and the difference between balance and unbalanced looks. So it was like a preseason game, and our opponents were clearly trying out a new offensive system, so they were shouting things at their players on the field. And I noticed one point that they set up their vertical stack in the open side with the intention of getting the disc out to that like inside break lane. And so I yelled out, "Away, away, away." And then I watched them all move, and the guy hadn't tapped the disc in yet, so I yell, "Home, home, home." And then I switch the force, and their entire stack runs to the other third of the field. And then I said, "Away!" And then the whole stack switched again. So I got them to move 2 times jogging horizontally. I just thought it was comical.
Nice. Defense dictating the offense.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at that point, I just started flat marking. I said, okay, cool. Well, obviously, you all want to hit that inside lane, so I'm going to force you to throw something that floats a little longer. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with Dan. I think Dan Young has summarized it pretty well in the chat.
Dan, he thinks about the game very interestingly also.
Well, by the way, I was pointing out this lack of even the most basic team defense here, like, and it, like, okay, I'm a logical person, right? I did logic and philosophy at university. I did computer science. You know, I love formulas. I love understanding stuff. I love things being, you know, worked out, you know, logically, right? And so I think, you know, team defense is logically superior to 1-to-1. So in this, but it, you know, it can be hard to kind of like to kind of explain what I mean. But here, like, very clearly, player A here. Oh, I've got rosters. I shouldn't be calling player A. Terrible. Tank. Yeah. So tank can go across. And Loscon, looks like Jeff Loscon. Yeah, that's number 5. Can't really see the number. Yeah. So yeah, in this situation here, Tank is like half the distance from this player. Okay, so if both these players move, then they both have to go like 4 meters. Okay, which takes, well, let's say it takes 1 second to go 4 meters. But instead of that, he crosses over and he tries to go over there. Right, which means he has to go 8 meters, which means it takes twice as long. All right, and he's also twice as far away, so he can just move further away, right? And he has to actually run past this player, so he's got to go there anyway. So in the time that he's like running there, then Tank could have been going over here, right? But then it's very hard to learn because there's like a false positive here. Now this player like then tries to squeeze this through, and he almost gets a great D, and so I don't have to move back. So like it takes a while to see why these things are good or bad, because the game is like, you know, quite like hit and miss. It's quite all over the place, you know, so you don't get these clear feedback loops of like, this worked well, this didn't work well, you know, because we're just not at that point in the sport yet. It's not that evolved.
True. And flow is often used when I see things that aren't really flowing that much. It's still a lot of stop start, a lot of hips being indecisive, you know, and here you see him rounding that catch and possibly traveling. Like, are these things flow? Or I think a lot of what you show is more flowing than what we're watching.
More blowing.
Flowing.
Okay, right. Sorry. Of course. Of course.
Let me ask you something. Do you
It's a sweet throw by the fast.
So one thing that happened to me was I messed my knee up really bad, and so I had to learn to play the game differently, and ultimately I learned to play the game much better because I had to rely less on athleticism. And so this discussion that like Barry's having about match D and what we're saying or whatever, I can't help but think that I was heavily influenced by the years I spent way slower than I actually am due to like just recovering from this injury. And so I had to see the game differently. And then I began thinking about, okay, well, I used to be a fast guy who could jump real high. What about the players who are good throwers, smart, coachable, but they just don't have that natural ability? And I started trying to devise strategies that involved those people more so that they could be bigger parts of my league teams and stuff like that. And then that stuff is really translated to more competitive play because I said, oh, hey, this probably works at every level because we're doing the easy stuff instead of this extremely athletic stuff, these extremely hard throws. Do you think, I don't really know how to ask this question, but how much has trying to teach people at a lower level influenced your logic around these things? Like, are you trying to devise systems for the best athletes, or are you trying to devise systems that beginners can use?
That's a very good question. And you know, when I came up with the kind of hex approach to the game, it was in 2012, just after I played with Clapham and Great Britain, and going back to Brighton, and Brighton, like, you know, third team in the UK. So I was coaching like Brighton Club, not like mostly as a player, mostly playing Brian Club. But yeah, kind of coaching them and then coaching the university as well. But then it's also in like pickup games, like Fun Tuesday kind of pickup. Then I was, that's when I'd kind of get creative and be like, oh, what about, try this? Or like, oh, I had this idea, let's try and do this, And it's fun at pickup because everyone could just be on board with it and just be like, yeah, okay, let's give it a go. Did I design it? I don't. That's a very good question. I'm not sure whether the initial thought was like, this will be something that will work at a high level, or like this will be something that will be really good for beginners to learn. I don't know whether I actually looked at it through either of those lenses. I think I looked at it through the lens of just like, this should work and it should be good. And I guess when I was imagining it, it was with high level players, right? Because I was watching Spain play football and they're very skillful, and so I was imagining them players who could catch and throw very reliably. And then people then with people have said everything about Hex, criticized it in contrasting ways, like the deep throw is always on, or the deep throw is never on. But one of the things they said early on, one of the things some people said early on was that you have to be very good at the game because the windows to throw through are very small, because it asks you to have like a very, very rounded throwing skill set and high frisbee IQ. And so people are like, all right, you have to be very good at it. This is like an elite level kind of offense. And then I thought about it and I was like, well, no, it isn't really, because even at a low level, the other team's going to make mistakes. The other team's defense isn't as good. Like the offense, will still do good things. It will just be doing them at a lower level, just like any kind of offense. So, like, yeah, it's a very good question. But I think the answer is tied in with what I was saying earlier about, it's just a logical thing. It's just like a theoretic, like, formula type thing, where like you look at it and it's just like, yeah, this should work, like playing in this way, moving the disc like this, having this shape, it all ties in and works. And I don't, and I was coaching every level. Like, I was guiding people in pickup games, and I was coaching third best team in the UK. And so I guess I was considering all of those levels at the same time. The push pass is dope. Yeah, you're right, Joe Marmstein. Does that? Well,
yeah, I mean,
it's kind of an answer.
Yeah, I'm working through a system, and it's definitely different than yours because it's about optimizing my team's performance. And I think what's interesting is that I'm trying to create a system where we can have our better players in a better position to do what they do, and then our support players with a better foundation for what they need to be doing on the field, so that they aren't held to the same standard.
Yeah.
And I think that's been an interesting way for me to look at it. I always looked at things as very egalitarian. Like, you catch the disc, you go through your progression. I said, I don't believe in handlers and cutters anymore. So like, we need to filter through the vert stack. Anybody can be a handler. And that sort of like egalitarian mentality has shifted a little bit in me, as I've realized there are just some players who are going to be better. And you see like Mario O'Brien here using his skill set at this point to really outwork that tough defense, because the tough defense can't keep up with his, I almost called it silliness. And I mean, look at it. Like, it's a bit silly, but it's this kind of stuff that gets me really excited. And so obviously a person who's played for a year can't do any of the stuff really that he's doing right. It takes a lot of experience and training.
Yeah. Yeah. But then, nobody on the field is someone that's played for like 1 year, right? It's very unlikely anyway. So yeah, it is something that you need to develop more. You have to have more development to get there. I could talk for ages about this. to get there though, you have to start training in a certain way. So you have to actually have that idea, like you're gonna be a well-rounded thrower, and then you're gonna, then you train balance rather than just training your wide pivot sidearm. What you said about roles and about different players being different is very interesting, because I was half expecting someone in chat, and apologies if I missed it, but when I was doing that, like, look, logically, they should go 2 times 4 meters rather than 1 times 8 meters. When I was doing that, the counter argument to that is like, well, what about if the matchups are then messed up? What about if 2 of them are like star players and the other 2 are like, part players or whatever? Then you want the star players to continue matching each other. So it's better to sacrifice that logical, extra 1 second in order to keep the matchups the same. And that is something that is worth considering. Like, there's someone said it in chat like a couple of streams ago. Was it, you got like positioning, movement, and resources almost, yeah. So that if you think of your favorite game, like Rocket League, then your positioning is like the initial thing, like roughly where you should be positioned depending on where the other cars are. Your movement, it's like your mechanical abilities and things, and then your resources, like how much boost you've got. And you can think about it in frisbee as well: positioning, movement, and resources, right? And resources is what the players have, yeah, and the differences between what the players have, in terms of height and speed and that kind of stuff. And I think you can apply those. You can look at any game through those lenses, and it should help you kind of break it apart a bit easier. Low key, we should definitely have a international Rocket League going on. Rocket League.
Are you on PlayStation?
I play on PC with a really terrible control setup. Got anyone in chat play Rocket League? I've been neglecting chat. Brady asked or said something. Brady says that I think person defenses will logically still be heavily present in mixed meta. Although from a recent session, I think Felix brought up Colombia using some kind of triangle zone against USA. Yeah, so it's kind of like a 3v3 and 4v4 when it's mixed. You can still play team defense, and that's not necessary either. Like, because it's not like, if you're doing that, then you're drawing like a hard gender line, and really, it's about the resources that you have, okay? And like, generally speaking, men are taller and faster, right? But not always, yeah. So when you draw those lines, you can draw them in an open team as well. So you could have like, 4v4 and 3v3 happening on the field, with in a men's team or a single gender team, and when it's mixed, then that line between the players doesn't have to be just on gender. And when I coached GB mixed in 2015, then we didn't have that gender line, and then you can start looking at it in a different way. Like, well, okay, even if there are resource differences with like heights and stuff, then actually maybe that means that the players should just weight themselves towards guarding the unders, or switching to cover the unders, and switching to let someone else go cover the deeps. So I like mixed because it's interesting. Yeah, it's like, it's more complicated. There's more variables. There's more to think about. Throwing is more of a challenge. Got all the different things on the field you have to look at before you release it to Hawk. Yeah, I like mixed.
Yeah, you really find out in mixed which players have the truly great throws. I feel like a lot of times in men's, we have I've played men's club, every single year except one, and I think in men's we have a tendency to just put it out there and say, "Go get it, buddy." And I watch a lot of women's footage, and I think that women do a better job of shaping their hucks for their receivers. And so you see the better throwers in mixed shaping their hucks a lot more. And I think that's a safer option. Doesn't always get you in the end zone, but it generally completes the pass
Yeah.
rather than letting somebody who's crazy athletic like Dylan Freechild chase you down and lay out D to throw, you know.
Over your shoulder or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
This makes me feel horrible, just seeing this bundle of players. It doesn't.
Yeah, I'm talking about this to my team, actually. I'm calling this non-form. And so, like, you have the structure of a vertical stack or horizontal stack, but in reality, by lining up in those stacks, you're giving your opponents information that you don't have to give them. And so I will encourage at times the offense to move up the field as kind of a blob so that the defense doesn't know what we're doing.
Yeah, okay, nice. A blob.
Yeah, blob stack.
Another pick that should be a switch. You know, like these two players here, just as soon as they're in that position, you're basically sandwiching, yeah, which means that both players are covered in both directions a little bit, yeah. So you've got this defender here, which means that like he's covering like this area here, yeah, and then you got this defender here, which means that he's kind of covering this area here, okay, and that's for both the players, yeah. If they are initiating a sandwich, right, which they're already in, they have their position down, right, they just got to get their movement and their adjustment, you know, and it does mean that they're free in these kind of areas, but you know, not like uncontested free. This reminds me of like a black hole or something. There's some kind of astral phenomenon that looks a lot like that.
So Barry's saying that he doesn't like the switch here because it's a cutter guarding a handler or a handler guarding a cutter. And, you know, obviously, Barry, it sounds like you have a lot of experience, but I think one thing Felix and I are trying to look toward the future on is a world where we don't define positions as this cutter handler binary.
Yeah, but then maybe by using those words, Barry played Chain Lightning. Maybe by using those words, he's meaning like, you know, well, you've got someone who's very good at going deep and catching, and you've got someone who's very good at throwing. You know, because yeah, people have fallen into those roles, and they are more comfortable doing those things. And there's something Mauricio was saying as well. You know, a lot of their strategy is about forcing the players to do something they're not comfortable in doing, and yeah, that is one of the big elements.
Right? Yeah,
it's that resources making them work for you. But like logically speaking, if everyone was equal, if we lived in a world where everyone was equal, then this player would switch and mark him, and there would be no pick, and pick wouldn't be a rule. maybe that's one step too far with the if everybody was equal, then pick wouldn't be a rule. I think in an ideal world, I'm trying to say. Because I mean, okay, yeah, I won't go into too much detail, but like the pick is basically a false positive there. It basically means, yeah, no, we shouldn't have switched because it was a pick. And it's like, no, the weird thing was that you should have switched, not that you had to run into each other. Yeah, so you don't want to switch those matchups. That is, you know, that's something to consider. And Benji Reese, shout out Benji, he's going to join us in a couple of weeks on the stream. He said earlier that he saw GB Mixed doing the gendered mismatching against Japan in Worlds when I was coaching, and yeah, that's what happened, and we got Ds. Like our women got Ds on the Japanese men, and we won the game. But yeah, it is something to consider. Like you don't necessarily always want to switch. Oh my god, did you see that? Oh, this is the worst. look at this. Okay, makes a cut under here. Maybe I should play it in normal speed. Oh, I did already. Makes a cut under here, and this defender. Let me get the name.
Yeah, that's Bjorklund.
Bjorklund, yeah. He
the white hat, yeah.
Yeah, so Bjorklund steps in the way. Yeah, and yeah, this is good, right? Because you should be marking that guy now because you're in the position to nullify the cut. Okay, right. But instead, another weird little movement. I'm not sure about that little movement now. Then instead, this trailing defender, who's got no hope of catching him, has to then go through him, and then it's a pick. So then play stops, right? Arguably advantaging the defense.
And I mean, in that scenario, Oh, I was wrong. I thought that was Free Child downfield. I was going to say there's no reason Free Child can't guard Kieran Thomas, but he's actually on Gibson on the right now.
Right.
Brady. Oh, man, we've all been in those scenarios. Instead of playing D, I'll set a pick. I've had so many moments where I cut in a very straight line with no one near me in a vert stack, and because the defender is on the opposite side, they call pick on me. And I think, I ran from where I was standing to another spot 10 yards away, right? And your positioning caused the pick. And that always upsets me. That will always bother me.
Yeah, I mean that was the one we just saw was similar to like the worst, which is like when a defender poaches. Yeah, a defender completely poaches off the person or whatever, and then suddenly they're in the way of another one of the defenders, and it's like, yep, advantage defense, and it's like, wait, what? How did your set of decisions and then getting in each other's way then legitimately mean the play has to stop and it advantages the defense? It's crazy. It's crazy. Hashtag rewrite the pick rule.
Yeah. I remember one of those specifically. I went to my team. It was at an indoor thing, and I said, "Oh, blah blah blah." That guy called pick, and it didn't happen. And then my buddy said, "Well, that's Asa Wilson," and Asa Wilson is like apparently a very famous player, and I didn't know at the time. And I don't think he would make that up. Like basically like maybe you're imagining this, Russ.
I've retracted a pick call before because I thought someone was somewhere and they weren't.
Oh, I've retracted. I'll make, it's terrible, but sometimes I'll make a call because I don't know what the hell happened. Like you'll be going up and then 3 people will just knock you over and you hit the ground and you're like, I think foul.
Yeah, it's a good instinct.
Everybody gets mad and you say, hold on. And you look at other people and you say, what did you see? And they're like, oh, no, you didn't have a chance. And you say, okay, I retract that. That's fine.
Yeah. I think that's good. I think it's really good to err on the side of call something and be open to discussion. Then once you've called it, you definitely, stick to it. But only call stuff that's definite. No, I think that's good. And I've done that before. But then, I'll call it. And people get angry. I'm like, whoa. Like, let's just talk about it. And then if they calm down, and then they say stuff that makes sense, then very easy to retract. If they like say something like, oh, that no, it was well out. When I know that it was like maybe this much out, then I'd be like, okay, I don't trust what you saw. I trust that they believe what they saw, but like I don't trust that.
Having played in the U.S. my whole life, no one has ever said it's well out to me.
It's well out, mate. Well out, mate.
More like you were out, bro. That's more common. Way out.
This is a nice catch.
That does always bug me though, like what you're saying when a player has the perspective that's just ridiculous. Like you try to toe the line and they say, you were so out, and you think, well, I was not so out.
Yeah.
I think that's Camden Allison Hall.
Yeah. So I've got really good like proprioception, right? So I kind of know where stuff on my body is and like where like what's touching what and stuff. Like,
Look at this foot.
Yeah, it's good. So close.
Woo.
And so I'll call foul on the pivot. So I pivot over, and as I'm pivoting over, there's like contact on me, which messes up my routine, and then the throw's not on or not right. And it's a weird one because like the release is clean. But it's as I'm pivoting over, there's like some hands in there or whatever, and then it's like, oh, I'm suddenly like not going through my normal throwing motion anymore, right?
Right.
And then the person will be like, I didn't touch you, and I'm like, yeah, like you touched my hand with your hand, and they're like, no, I didn't touch, and I'm like, okay, look, it was your little finger and your ring finger, and it touched me on the base of my thumb, Like I could get into like mad detail, and if someone goes into that much detail, you know, or it's like, you know, okay, look, you know, my little finger did graze against your thumb, but I don't think there's, you know, warrants. If they can show me that they have that same level of perception and they're with me on that, then I know we're talking about the same thing. Then I'm just like, okay, all right, yeah, all right, we'll go with that. And I love, you know, existing in that world where everyone's on the same page, and I really dislike the world where then everything is binary, you know, and it's like, you know, that was completely this or this was completely that, and it's like, no, I mean, we're talking about centimeters here, like millimeters.
It's really hard to have a discussion, when someone has that absolute opinion that, it's very frustrating. Yeah. Is that Cole Sullivan going for that same little under the arm hook?
Oh yeah, but he's got his leg up in the way. He's a pick downfield. Like generally, like the more definite someone is about something that I know is quite close, then the less I trust them.
I agree.
I always give a percentage. I'm always like, I'm like 65% sure that was in, you know, because I can't possibly convey. It's the easiest way to convey, you know, and I'm never 100% because I could be tripping. Can never be 100%. Yeah.
Well, even though I can force myself to continue running through anything, I'm 33 now, so chasing around these college kids, like I'm often exhausted. And so when a call happens, I'm gasping for air trying to have a logical conversation. It comes out as like, you're a liar, you know.
That reminds me, actually, the question you asked earlier. By the way, this pick is, you know, obviously number 11 is in a better position to mark him, and I don't see how this is the offense's fault. You know, like if you watch this player, we're playing a sport here, right? Watch this sports player and watch what he does, and tell me that that's a violation of the rules. I mean, yes, it is a violation of the rules, but tell me why. How can this sports player be making such a fundamental? What is wrong with that?
Yeah. Well, that's kind of like the fallacy of match defense, and that's how these picks get abused, is because, we were playing match defense, whereas if they were in a zone, you can't call this. Well, I mean, you could, but
squirrel.
Yeah, the rules need to work on that for sure.
There's a squirrel. You see a squirrel? Let me circle it.
No.
Right here.
Heyo. Front row seat.
You see it moving. The tail twitching. Squirrel alert. I was saying, so playing with Clapham, and I was one of the older guys and definitely out of shape. And maybe during that time, when it looked like a strip, maybe during that time, my attention was drawn more to the ridiculousness of being tasked with guarding one player. You know, like, because I had like 6 amazing teammates, and I knew I was out of shape, and you know, the fact that the system didn't allow me to or didn't encourage me to use the help of my teammates, then wait, is this what's going on here? Nothing's
I know.
It's just bounced out.
So the year that I figured out that playing team defense and switching as much as you can, like rolls on a strike cut when you peel off the guy you're marking to defend the strike cut, that sort of stuff. I learned that because I had a friend who was a solid ultimate player, and then his hip health got very bad and he had to have surgery, but he really wanted to play like one final season. And so he handled with me, and he was actually really good in his zone. He's tall, so we could kind of like throw over people's heads all day. But that season taught me that team defense is the best, because I had a teammate who was very intelligent, but his athleticism had declined. And so we just collaborated. Every time after a turnover, I was his help defense.
Yeah, you can do it with just 2, you know, and you get such a great connection with them. Like, it's almost easier to learn, and you can see how effective it is when you just have 2. And then
And there you go. There's Matt Malius getting him back.
Yeah, thanks, Joe, for reminding me that you guys can't see that bit. More squirrel content, says Benji. I will try my best to bear that in mind. I don't have my usual like the thing that I put over my screen to remind me that you guys can't see the top right corner. Yeah, so when you've got like two players, I thought that was a strip because of the way the disc bounced out of their hands, by the way, but it didn't look like it was one.
They think about it, for a second, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, when you have in fact, what am I doing? I need to I'm still wondering about this. Oh, okay, he doesn't close his hands.
Oh. That's him.
That's weird.
I wonder how hot it was, because I think that's the same guy who almost bobbled it a little bit last time.
Right. Yeah, I it's probably more relatable to people, like when you have two players on the same page who are working together. Maybe that only happens with top players on a team. Not necessarily, because a top player could be busy marking like a star player on the other team. But when you have two players who are constantly looking to help each other out, then it suddenly it gives you so much freedom. Oh, by the way, the footage like pauses here on this frame, and then it comes back in, and Doublewide has scored. What's I saying? Oh yeah, so when you have two players like that, then it gives you so much freedom. Suddenly you're just like, oh, I can actually go and poach because someone's got my back, and they know they're expecting me to do that, so therefore they're ready to cover, and then you're like, right, my guy's not doing anything. Where can I help my other teammate? Yeah, and it makes the game so much more interesting and exciting. And then imagine having seven, or maybe 6.5 teammates who are all expecting that and got each other's backs and trying to do everything they can as a team to get I love it. But it's not what we're seeing in this game. Sorry, go on.
My teammate in this chat, I don't know if he's still here. His name's Xavier, and he's a really, really great one-on-one defender, but he's also very intelligent. And so, yes, my athleticism has declined in the past few years, and I just can't do some of the stuff I used to do. And so we'll be playing in these pickup scenarios, and he's smart enough to be mindful of that I'm a smart guy, but sometimes I can't keep up with strike cuts or stuff like that. And he'll hang out in that lane and motion to me or whatever, and then I'll look to find his guy. And if you can apply that to a team philosophy where people always have their heads up, they're always playing for each other, I really see the results in pretty much every way.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been the most enjoyable frisbee I've played. Is where you got seven players playing flex all on the same page, and then when you're halfway between the zone and 1-to-1 whilst backing each other up like that, it's lush.
Chris brings up an interesting point. Everybody's bringing up interesting points. Brady brings up a great point about he's a shorter player. So, for instance, like if he and I were playing on an offensive line together and a turn happened, I would probably coordinate with Brady immediately after the turn to switch, because as a taller handler, other teams intelligently will put these short, quick guys on me. And when a turn happens, it is very hard to keep up with. So Brady and I would switch there. And then I think Chris brings up something very interesting too about these three people who are just causing chaos, and then the four other people are playing match. That's kind of like what Mauricio was talking about with the three women triangle and then men boxing around the triangle. We also have, I don't know how to pronounce his name, if it's Joaquin or something else, but he's on Reddit a lot too, and I see him making a lot of cool comments. Joaquin, okay.
What's your Beast Planes name about?
Oh, Beast Plains was fun. So we have these guys in the South, and they have a blog called Bama Sex, and I don't keep up with this stuff as much as I should anymore, but they were just hilarious on Twitter with all sorts of jokes. And I met the guy Andrew Francis, and just doing a lot for their section in terms of getting it pressed. And so I said, I'd like to do that. And he actually put out a message that said, we're willing to open up our blog to other sections. And so I said, I'd like to do this because nobody was really talking about our section a lot. We have some good teams like Smokestack. We have some great teams like used to be High Five before they disbanded. And I really just wanted to like give positive press to the people in our section. It just felt like we were not ever really talked about. And so Beast Plains was just a joke, a play on words, East Plains.
Ah, okay.
That was a great experiment and fun for me to do. And like, that's honestly how I got my feet wet in digital marketing, and how I ended up having a digital marketing career was thinking about a lot of that stuff. Whoa, did you see that lefty?
Yeah.
Holy crap, that's nice. Well,
Yeah.
It's a little dangerous, but I don't think I burned Smokestack, Brady. I have a lot of respect for that team, so I don't know what I said exactly. But let it be known, I have a ton of respect for Cleveland Smokestack.
What's Chris say about Lou Burris? I bought Lou's book, by the way, the other day. Well, I need to refresh my stream to get
What's
up
it
to date.
called?
I'll go get it. Win the Fields.
Well, I don't want to get into who's good and who's great, but I'm just talking about how they finished historically.
I didn't hear what you said. Here you go.
Brady's taking me to task on what I said. Oh, okay.
I'm trying to hold it up with delay, so it's taking me 3 seconds to adjust. I haven't read it yet, but I have read a bunch of. Oh, look, that's interesting. I have read a bunch of his. I think it's like a collation of what he was doing online. Is it backwards for you? So you got standard, vertical, standard, something, and then over here spread. Yeah, and side stack. So frisbee stuff. I recommend it. Yeah, anyone that yeah, Lou Burris played Sockeye years, coached women's teams as well. Very knowledgeable. He wrote about help defense, which was the first, or like, maybe not the first, but like it definitely popularized the idea that you have teammates on the field that can help you out on defense. And so a lot of people, like I say, a lot of people, like quite a lot of Americans, especially if I start talking about like switching and sandwiching and stuff, they'll be like, oh yeah, like help defense, like help defense is like a very defined system. Whereas
Right.
In my view, it's just like anything that's not strict 1-to-1 is technically help defense, I guess. But I mean, it's a pretty vague term, isn't it? Help defense. But yeah, Lou Burris, pioneering that stuff, and very good with his words. Very hot-headed player when he was a player. I remember early Ulti Village DVD, him getting angry and spiking the disc on someone. Not hard. I think maybe just like laying it on them after they laid out or something.
Ooh.
Yeah, he like said afterwards in the interview, like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. That was bad. But no, he's quality. Buy the book. I don't know where from. Probably Amazon. Buy it from Amazon.
Amazon.
I'm writing a book. Memoirs. Not finished, but like I'm several thousand words in. Like maybe like 12,000 words in. even more. Just all my stories from all the years of Ultimate. To write it, I'm just sitting down being like, right, what are some other interesting stories I can remember happening, and then yeah, write them down in the most interesting way I can. Is this a travel on the throw?
It's like a bad Huck decision.
Takes quite a big step there. Yeah, it's very tight, isn't it? Like there's not much separation when he releases it. Yeah, very tight there. And he's also quite far back, so doesn't have much space to work with. Can't put the disc out to space. Yes, so Felix's memoirs will be coming out in hopefully within the year. You'll be able to read about the first time I ever played Ultimate Frisbee.
Do you have a good title for it yet?
I had a name suggested, but I think it'd be, so the book isn't going to be like how to play Hex. Oh my god, he bounced out of his hands and he caught it. But if it was all about Hex, then maybe I call it The Joy of Hex.
Okay.
I don't know, what are some suggestions for a memoirs book Felix writes? If you got any suggestions, let us know in the chat.
Free Child to O'Brien, back to Free Child. Free Child around to Wiggins.
It's kind of interesting the way that their offense like flows. You know, like when flow stopped, just kind of lingered for a while. Yeah, and it happens again here. Where like flow kind of stops.
Yeah.
And then this gets moving, and then the movement kind of comes after that. It's like once you get one pass, then there's a few continuations, boom, 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 and then like flow stops. So then reset. Free Child gets it back because that's what he does. So flick, get it back, bounce out of his hand. No, not that one. And then here, like, yeah. So flow stops with Free Child here, and then he initiates flow by going backwards, catching the disc across. And then immediately over to this side, and then it's like boom, boom. It's nice.
I really like Seth Wiggins. I really like him.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. Although Ben Wiggins is I get a lot of inspiration from him and a lot of frisbee ideas.
Yeah. He's very good at explaining. When I was trying to, I was part of a group of people who led the strategy charge in my city. Like it was all host stack and match defense when I started, and I said there's got to be a better way. Just like Mario O'Brien, Ben Wiggins was a guy where when I listened to him speak, I said this is awesome. This makes so much sense. I'm so used to reverse engineering games and figuring out just by watching and saying I think this is what they're doing. To have Ben Wiggins like explain things so confidently in the Rise Up series and even some other videos that he released, super helpful.
Yeah, he's done a lot for the sport. Maybe a couple more points and then we'll wind it up. Like it's half was at 9, was it? Or has there not been half? Looks like
we might have gone over.
Yeah, but I'm looking at like the footage, and we're not halfway through the footage yet. We're almost halfway through the footage. Yeah, we're coming up to halfway through the footage, and we're 1 hour 45 minutes into the stream. Getting to 15, so half at 8 maybe. So let's maybe just watch this point and then wrap it up. Cool. Head over to the Discord. Are there any players in the chat? Now's a good time to say hello. Yeah, we did. Seth Wiggins, easily the best most important player. Just put national record around. Yeah.
I would love to see like Cole Sullivan comment right now. Just, I heard everything you said about me.
I'll meet you after the game in Discord.
Oh, Benjamin would like to see your cat again.
Oh, would you? maybe I can entice Rue back onto the stream. Normally that's the extra cat content. You have to be a patron for. But maybe I'll be able to entice Rue back. Nice hammer. Yeah, I mean it's also possible Cole is completely what's it called when you go back on your ways? Revoke your ways? I don't know if those are hard knee pads. They're just fancy knee pads. Yeah, like Brody Smith, didn't he send a message on Reddit saying, "Oh, I used to not play the game in a very good way, and I apologize for that."
Oh yeah, I'm a Brody Smith apologist through and through. When I see comments about people saying that they hate the guy, I generally ask them to give him a second chance because, I played disc golf too, and recently he got into playing that. In his first few videos, he's yelling and excited, and disc golf's a pretty quiet sport. You don't really yell that much. So everybody got pretty angry, and they said, "We hate this guy." And I said, give him a chance because he's matured so much that he's going to hear your feedback, and he knows how to make good content, and he's going to take your feedback and he's going to make better content. And sure enough, he stopped being loud and, and so he's a smart guy. He's a marketer. And I've read numerous comments from the guy where he's like, yeah, me and my buddies, we were kind of jerks, and I'm different now, and I hope you'll give me a chance.
You know what? There's a clip I've seen of Brody playing Fortnite, which is hilarious. It's absolutely brilliant. It's like a classic situation where he's like in a team and like desperately trying to survive and gets knocked down, is crawling through like water and trying to encourage his team and give information about where the enemy is. But the enemies are really bad, and he's not like the pro Fortnite player at all either. So it's just a really, really funny clip of like, it goes on for so long as well, like as they get revived and get knocked down again and they're desperately trying to like survive. I kind of want to show it, but I think that's something for maybe the patrons in the post stream. Who was it that wanted to see the cat? Was that a message in the chat? Show Rue before we wrap it up. It's Tequila. Well, we did have an early Rue show earlier, but I think maybe I can make an exception. Maybe I can make an exception and have Rue on. Cool. Are there any other anything that anyone wants me to clarify, or any stories that I started and didn't finish? Then now's the time. Message in the chat. And have you got any rounding up thoughts for the end of kind of the first half, at least the first half of our coverage?
Yeah, I think at one point the score was 8-3, and I think that's really important when we move into the second half on Friday. This game's 8 years old, so I'm not spoiling anything. Doublewide climbs back into this, and that's one of the reasons this is one of my favorite games to watch. Is you just see these teams giving it all they have the entire game, and obviously that's what we aspire to be or aspire to do. A lot of times teams kind of fall off their intensity, fall off that effort, but I think what we see here, even though there is the matchup versus switching problem, we do see two teams that are very focused and strategizing against each other, and this game has it all. So I think part 2 is going to be really fun.
Yeah, don't give away who wins. It's okay to say it's really close. But Yeah, don't say who wins. Brady asks, when can we watch middle level or bad ultimate? I love it. I think the time is coming. Like I'm really enjoying this stream. I think maybe like it's really nice to have like it so relaxed. Like kind of, you know, I don't feel that. Well, like, man, there's no rule there. Okay, maybe I move. No. Okay, that's as good as we're gonna get, I think, for Rue coverage. I'm up for talking about some bad games and middle level games. I think it'll be quite good fun.
Yeah, I've played in many.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I enjoy this kind of like environment where I'm just kind of going through the game and chatting, and engaging with the chat a little bit more. Like having Mauricio and we got Daryl Stanley coming on in like a couple of weeks. That's good, but like I know that, you know, that there's, I kind of want to pick their brains. You know, like you got Mauricio more like very limited amount of time, and so I kind of felt the pressure a lot more in those streams. And this one I was kind of looking forward to, and it's been really good fun.
Yeah.
But what kind of games would you want me to cover that are the lower quality ones? You got any in mind, or should we just like pick like the worst we can imagine? I should probably just browse YouTube and just like find some random games. It'd be fun. Maybe I need to stream more times in a week.
I will find it for you. I have the game. It's on Frisbee Fun Time, which if anybody doesn't know what that is on Reddit, please subscribe and post whatever you want. It is a no rules Frisbee subreddit.
No rules.
But there is a game, there's a Belgian game, and I don't know if it's like the Belgian National Championship or something, but like we should watch that and listen to the commentary because the two commentators are hilarious. I will find that game and send it to you.
Brilliant. So I did not learn how to pronounce the name, so I apologize. Jacqueline says, did y'all talk about how much Rhino is playing their top guys both ways? I did not. I'm like that's something I'm not very good at identifying, is unless I really look over a game again and again and again, is actually like if players are being used a lot, you know, being used all the time. So okay, that's a thing then. Did you notice that, Russ?
Yeah, a little bit. I'm bad at that as well. I love watching the motion, and as far as personnel and whatnot, I struggle with that.
What I'm going to do to keep people entertained whilst we round up is play some replays in the little window.
Not one to shy away from a foul.
The technology stuff we've got going on. So there's just some replays playing through. Hopefully I'll stop them before it goes into the spoilers from next week's. Okay, so Rhino sounds like they're playing their top players on offense and defense. Maybe tiring them out. Hence the comeback. If that's what they're doing. Joe Marmestein, he thinks that even full college stuff or something could be good. Yeah, the thing I worry about watching boring games, you know, like if interesting stuff's happening, it's interesting. But if it's two teams that are not very good and playing very conventional styles, and they're not even like particularly bad, then like it might, you know. I suppose there's always interesting stuff though, and even if it's the most boring game in the world, it'd be quite funny to hear me rant about how boring it is, and you know, engage with the chat and stuff. Yeah, my aim with the whole streaming thing is to do it in a way which is interesting enough for people, but also that I'm comfortable enough doing it that I can do it regularly. And it feels like there's like a lot of top games we're going through and a lot of top you know, guests and stuff that we're getting on. And so hopefully things will calm down in time and be able to go more at kind of a pace that we're happy with and have have the viewers and the patrons decide the direction a lot more directly. Although they do already. We've got a poll, so there's a poll on YouTube right now. I will try and load it up. Yes. Sorry for that noise. That was my microphone arm. So there is a poll on YouTube. Daryl Stanley is joining for film sessions. Stanley is joining. Oh, apologies. So if I can just post this to there, does that let me post links? Yes. Okay. So vote for what game you'd like to see covered with Daryl Stanley. He's the coach of Truck Stop, and okay, I think that's the end of the replays for now. So yeah, he's the coach of Truck Stop and DC Breeze, and he's going to be on in a couple of weeks. What games did he want to watch? So the games you got to choose from: 2016 USA Nationals Final, Ironside Revolver. I think there's only like 9 turnovers in that game or something. I've heard that it's a very low turnover game. And then you got Ring versus Machine Pool Play at 2018 USA Nationals. That was a popular choice in the past for games that you wanted to be covered. And then you got USA v Canada in the World Under 24 Men's Final 2019, and Daryl was actually coaching the USA team in that game. And then the last option is 2017 US Open Truck Stop versus Sockeye in semi-final, the US Open, and again Daryl was coaching in that game. Let me get the schedule up. It's probably too small. Let me make it bigger.
I gotta head out, y'all. I have a meeting in 2 minutes, but I'll see everybody on Friday.
Cool. Cheers, Russ. I'll see you on Friday.
Right. Had fun. Talk to you soon.
Okay, so here are the upcoming games. Obviously, we just did this one. We've got Brian Jones next week doing Bravo Revolver. And we've got Ravi, Huge versus Poland in the 2017 Windmill Final. That format is different to those. I have to change that. So we've got mixed there. And then Daryl Stanley here, that's where you can vote in the link that I sent. And then Benji, shout out Benji in the chat, joining Stefan and myself. Yet to be decided, yet to put a poll up about that. And then below here, we've got the current patrons, who are part of the Beehive. So a huge shout out to Valerio, AJ, Joe, Marmstein, Luke, Noah, Walden, Travis, Kevin, Milan, Dom, Rob, Sebastian, Seth, Tatenda, Florian, Russ, Mammal, and Sean. Huge shout out to you guys. You help me do what I love to do, and hopefully what people love me to do as well. If you value what I do, and if you would pay $1, then please pay $1. Here are all the previous games. These are all available on YouTube. I think they're all available on YouTube now, so you can go check them out. Patrons get like early access, and I take down the Friday stream for a week. So at the moment, the only place you can watch this game is on Patreon. Okay. We have had the extra little Roo showing. I'm going to head to Discord. So if you wanna see, if you wanna watch that Brody Smith video with me, of him playing Fortnite, it is hilarious. Then come onto Discord now. When you become a patron for $1, you automatically get like Discord benefits and the invite to the server and everything like that. Very easy to do. Thanks very much everybody for joining the stream. I've really enjoyed this one, and I look forward to Friday, where Russ will be joining again, and we'll be going over the second half of the game, including the epic layout D from Dylan Freechild, which is twice on the thumbnail because it was so good. Excellent. I've enjoyed it. Thank you very much for being here, and I'll see you again soon.
Oh, yeah.